Welcome to Searching Smarter with Selby Jennings, the podcast for hiring managers and professionals navigating the job market within financial sciences and services. Whether you're searching for top talent to grow your team or considering your own career move, this podcast will help you do so with confidence. I'm your host, Jesse Scaff, Global Client Director for Faden International's Financial Sciences and Services brand, Selby Jennings.
People are fascinating, and people are what makes the company successful.
What is it about people that is so fun for you, and what makes the job and made the job in talent acquisition so exciting?
People are your number one asset. Treat them fairly, treat them respectfully, develop your talent, and they will do great things for you. Watching people learn about the opportunities in front of them coming to a Fortune 10 company like Chevron.
Talk a little bit about what you're doing now, growing the next generation of female leaders.
I wanted to coach women to help them better grasp and understand and own and honor their worth, their value, and their purpose. Majority of women still aren't confident enough to stand up and say, no, I'm worth this, and here's the value and the impact that I make.
This week, my guest is Julie Flowers. Julie spent nearly 3 decades at Chevron in global HR and talent acquisition roles, working in multiple countries. She finished her time at Chevron as a global talent acquisition leader before moving on to her new endeavor, an entrepreneurial career in career coaching and empowering women to achieve their full potential. We talk about her passion for people and why she thinks people are a company's most important asset, how she used her voice and advocates to achieve a global head role, what it was like to work at a Fortune 10 company, and the challenges her clients face as females looking to climb in their careers. So if you're an aspiring woman in the workplace, or frankly, anyone looking for a little career advice or perhaps some mentorship, this episode has exactly what you're looking for. Hi, Julie. Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Same to you. Welcome to 2025.
Well, I want to get to it. I know we have a few things to discuss today. Start by just telling us about your journey, your career as a female leader in talent acquisition, and HR.
Yeah. So let me just start with, I am a people person. People fascinate me. And I think that's why I landed in HR for almost 3 decades. Do not do the math on my age, listeners, okay? But
she started when she was 12.
Exactly. It's just exciting. People are fascinating, and people are what makes the company successful. I know it sounds corny, but they are the number one asset. And if you don't have the people empowered and engaged and motivated and really doing productive work, no company is going to thrive, right? And then we don't have happy employees either. So I think being in the people space is so exciting and so much fun. So I was in HR for my entire career at Chevron, actually, and loved every bit of it. Moved up the ladder, different roles, started in California, in San Francisco, and then came to Houston, Texas, and then worked in Angola, Africa for 3 years, which was fun, exciting, crazy, toxic, overwhelming, name all the emotions. It was all of that, but it was the biggest learning I've ever had in my life.
I'm sure. A unique experience.
Oh, it was awesome. And my kids got to experience it too. So it was really fun. And then we came back to Houston, Texas. So we're based here now in Houston, Texas. And like I said, my career was all HR. So always dealing with talent development, talent management, and the generalist HR strategic business partner stuff too. But my passion was in how to develop talent, how to manage talent, and how to recruit that talent. And my last position at Chevron, I've since left Chevron last year, was head of global talent acquisition for Chevron worldwide, sitting in the center of expertise. So really designing the strategies that go with acquiring talent, but also retaining talent a bit too. So the internal movement of talent, the university hiring, social investments, scholarships, experience hiring from the wellhead all the way to the CEO, all of that. So it was, I was a walking commercial for that company because it's an amazing company. So it was easy to try to recruit folks because it was just so fun. So talent acquisition was, I think, when I look back, was the most fun I had. Maybe not the biggest learning for me, but the most fun that I had in a role. And so anything to do with talent, I'm your gal. I love it.
Is there anything specific about working with candidates or people, right? You mentioned it's all about people, and that's what you're passionate about. Is there anything specific about talent development, maybe seeing somebody that you hired as a fresh grad and seeing them get to, an executive level or a management position? What is it about people that is so fun for you, and what makes the job and made the job in talent acquisition so exciting?
So really, well, first of all, a little bit of a joke, people in your company like the talent acquisition people because we're getting them talent and good talent. Or the flip side of when I was an HR generalist, let's say, I was also disciplining employees or telling leaders that they can't do certain things. So It's more of the fun side of the house of HR, and people are a little bit more positive when they see you coming, rather than most of my career when I was walking down the hall, they're like, ooh, what's going to happen now, right? So there's that fun element. When talking to candidates, internal or external, because at Chevron, we moved our talent around, not the whole kit and caboodle, but most of our talent around a couple times a year. We had a strategic way of doing that. It's really helping people achieve their goals, right? And getting to a place that helps them develop personally and professionally, and watching that light bulb go off when they're learning, or watching that, oh, I got the job that I wanted, or I'm working for that company that I know I'm going to make an impact. It's so fun to witness and watch. It's also fun. I found it quite fascinating, especially when I was recruiting at universities, to debunk some of the thoughts that students have about oil and gas industry, and that it can't be cool and exciting and fun. I used to say, well, Google's cool, but do they create technology to get oil out of the bottom of the friggin' ocean? No.
Right.
Put your head around that for just a minute. You will be working on some pretty unique, very exciting and dynamic projects, no matter what type of discipline you're in. So watching people learn about the opportunities in front of them coming to a Fortune 10 company like Chevron, and just fulfilling a desire that they have. Super fun to do.
So you just mentioned a couple points that I want to pick out and elaborate on a little bit. First, Fortune 10, right? People throw out the term Fortune 500, Fortune 100, even Fortune 1000. Fortune 10.
Yeah.
That's about as big as it gets.
Mic drop.
That's about as big as it gets. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's it like working at an enormous organization, global influence? And maybe what did you take away from, the fact that you had Fortune 10 on your resume for so many years?
So fun fact, I'm third generation Chevron employee as well. So I always joke that I have oil running through my veins. And quite frankly, Chevron provided for me and my family my entire life. Mm-hmm. My husband still works for the company. He's the last family member working there right now. The reason
for the time being,
we'll wait for my children who are 18 and 16.
We're not going to rule that out.
Exactly. You have to realize that Chevron, although a Fortune 10 company, only has, I haven't looked lately, but when I left, it was about 35,000 employees. So we're not talking hundreds of thousands. This is working lean, working smart, working efficiently worldwide. And so that makes it feel like a small company. It feels like a family. And the number one reason why people stay, and why I stayed so long, were the people and the development that the company offered. And so I traveled for Chevron to many countries. Last time I counted, it was probably about 15 different countries. And it was the same culture every country I traveled to. Pride in working for the company, doing the right thing the right way, highly ethical, high integrity company. And so that made it feel like more of a family, small company. I had a vast network because of that. And having that title, or that company name behind, even now that I'm an entrepreneur, still helps me in my career. But what I learned from that company is people are your number one asset. Treat them fairly, treat them respectfully, develop your talent, and they will do great things for you. Now, I know the flip side is I got used to having this powerhouse behind me, resources, not always money all the time, right? Because you get to a certain level in the Fortune 500 list because you're spending your money correctly. So we're not just I didn't have buckets of money. Like people thought I always had buckets of money to do whatever I wanted. Not the case. In fact, it was quite difficult sometimes to get things approved because we were very, governed to make sure we were making the right decisions. But it did teach me how to be a good cost steward of the money, to be collaborative, and to be growth mindset, kind of that curiosity mindset, forward looking, and really work as a team rather than an individual leader.
That's really exciting and a great plug. Obviously, we'll have to make sure that this episode reaches your former friends and colleagues
yeah,
from
exactly.
Chevron. But
still a walking commercial, basically.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that it seems like it's more culture and resources than what people might associate with, like, oh, it just must be a limitless funds. It's more resources, network, and culture that makes the engine go.
That's correct.
Very cool. And the other question I want to talk about really quickly, given this is primarily a financial services podcast, I want to get your take. Chevron being oil and gas, and just if you could talk a little bit about what your experience in commodities, the oil and gas industry as a financial services commodities vehicle, and trading as a vehicle and product within financial services. Just talk about your experience through that lens, the oil and gas financial services lens.
Well, actually, I'm going to answer it a little differently. So again, don't do the math on my age, but I had a job before Chevron for 9 years in the financial services realm. So I worked for Transamerica, doing mortgage lending, and then working for Union Bank, doing commercial real estate lending. Right. And so I had some background in that. Now, I'm not a numbers person, so I quickly realized that's not my forte. I think math is witchcraft, so I moved over to the people side, okay? In Chevron, I didn't directly work with our traders, but we have traders. And when you think about working for Chevron is a very decentralized corporation. What I mean by that is different strategic business units. And so majority of my career, I was embedded in the business, reporting to a business leader, not an HR professional, a business leader. So I sat next to the VPs and the managing directors and the presidents as their HR manager, and helped really, from a people side, but also from a financial side, understand what is the best way to utilize our financial resources as it pertains to people, right? So that's probably the closest I've gotten to it in the Chevron Spain. But prior to that, I worked in that other industry for a while.
Yes, great. Well, let's move on. I know you have lots to talk about perhaps your favorite topic and something that you're super, super passionate about, which is what you've chosen to do in your post-Chevron career. You mentioned you're now an entrepreneur. Talk a little bit about what you're doing now and the role that the company is playing for growing the next generation of female leaders, women empowerment, and we'll try and work that into how we can talk about careers and developing careers of female talent.
So I've been a professional coach for many years through Chevron, and then got my credentials in the last year as well, and found that it's not that I'm opposed to coaching men, but what I found is women, I can relate more to women, right? And in my career, I had a lot of advocates and mentors that helped me along the way, both female and male allies, right, and advocates. What I came to realize, and I think this is kind of cliche, but around COVID time, right? Not only was it COVID time, but I turned 50 the year before. So all these major things were happening where you pause and say, what am I doing, right? And I thought about my purpose in life really is to help other people. I thrive in it. I love doing it. Honestly, I'm great at it because I just love it so much, right? Just to help people get to their potential, specifically women. So I wanted to coach women, seasoned career professional women, to help them better really grasp and understand and own and honor their worth, their value, and their purpose. Women and minorities often downplay the first two, their worth and their value. We can't articulate it. We apologize for it. We don't really feel it, and we're not confident about it. So when my belief is if more women could understand their worth and value, own it, articulate it in a confident way, sky's the limits for them. And the bonus for the company is you're going to see more out of that female professional than you would have before. And so I created a coaching company to do just that, coach women, whether it's one-on-one in a group setting or a team environment. And I do a lot of public speaking as well, because I just feel like that we're missing untapped talent for multiple reasons that can be fixed.
I'm with you. So
all
we,
right.
First of all, we host a full day of International Women's Day events, whether it's panels or conversations. And the first thing I say actually every year as a panelist is, I hope that we don't have an International Women's Day eventually.
Right. Why do we have to?
Every day.
Right.
That's
Should
right.
be. It's just,
Should
or
be.
when you get a new CEO and it's like, it's a new female CEO. Well, who?
Right.
She's
No,
just a
it should
CEO.
just be this. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So
one day we'll get there.
Absolutely. I'm with you. We produced a document a few years ago about how diversity in thought and diversity in leadership creates diversity in thought leadership. And
absolutely,
the broader your ideas, the more innovative you can become, and anything like that. So, the fact that you're giving this platform to aspiring leaders and aspiring women who probably have a lot of these ideas is only making the next generation of talent and female leadership that more capable and that more impactful and powerful.
Absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head, where it's about different ways of thinking. It doesn't matter, non-binary, gender, whatever, race. We just want different ways of thinking. And that comes from different backgrounds, experiences, races, gender, all of that. So the more that we can open up that realm of talent to be at the table, have an actual voice at the table, but speak confidently. For females, I'm not saying a blanket statement for all, because you can't, one size does not fit all, but majority of women still aren't confident enough to stand up and say, no, I'm worth this. And here's the value and the impact that I make. It could come out and then they're like, but I'm maybe not as good as so-and-so. I mean, I watch women, and I used to do it myself too sometimes, is you would cower down and even the body language would change. Right. And I'm 5'2", working in a male dominated industry.
Okay.
This is why I wear 4-inch heels. However, I had to hold my own. And I had a leader tell me one time, you're a confident person, but sometimes you don't come across that way, because I think, maybe there's an intimidation of the men in the room or something. I said, it's actually not intimidation. I'm scrappy, so I don't, whatever. What it is often I found that my voice wasn't being heard. I would say something, an idea, a thought. 5 minutes later, Johnny said the same thing, got credit for it. So I had a leader I reported to at the time, really wonderful leader, male leader. He was the CTO of Chevron Technology, chief technology officer and president of our enterprise technology company. And he was great. He said, Julie, sometimes I see you flustered in a meeting and you repeat yourself or something. And I was smiling when he said it. And he said, what's so funny? I said, because you do want to know why that happens? And he said, yeah, I'm really curious why. I said, and I just told him the example I gave you, Jesse. I said, a male gets credit for almost everything I say. He's like, no. I'm like, watch. And so he said, okay, I'm going to. A couple months went by, sitting at a leadership table. It happened again. He made eye contact with me in like 2 seconds, smiled, turned back and said, thanks, Johnny. I see that you agreed with what Julie just said a few minutes ago. Booyah. I was like, he learned,
advocate,
he listened, and he advocated for me. So it's just amplifying our voices helps as well. But that was a big moment for me.
That's a great example. That makes me want to ask you a question about what kind of challenges do you think, or do you experience in your clients? I guess, or do your clients experience? Do they feel the same challenges around lack of advocacy or intimidation? Is it something else that they're just afraid to speak up in the first place? Is their credit being taken? What do you? And maybe this is for people listening of if they could take away the females who are listening, if they could take away one thing of today's conversation that they can go practice at work in the workplace tomorrow, or try and speak to a mentor about that they want to improve on tomorrow, what challenges do you experience in your clientele that can provide a platform?
So it is what I just said. A lot of women will tell me that they don't get credit for their ideas. And I know the Obama administration had a female staff that I think they coined the term amplification strategy, meaning amplifying other women's voices. So I thought that was really cool. But you hear that a lot still. You also hear in different forms, and so I'm not trying to make a blanket statement on this either, but this does still happen, of the cattiness of women. We are our own worst enemies. And I'm here to get rid of the mean girls and stop the friggin' drama, and that we should all be lifting each other up. I always say, don't just leave the ladder down. You got to put a hand out too and help each other up, because that happens still sometimes. And then I think the third thing that women say they're challenged with is what I said earlier, of how to articulate in a non-cocky way their worth and value, and then really feel it as they're saying it, right? And so there's a lot of different tricks and tips to do that. One that I start with that's super easy and gives you a really big jolt of joy when you do it. I have a cup that says that, by the way, because jolt of joy is fun to say as well, is you send an email with like 5 questions to about 30 people that you're come in contact with a lot, usually people you work with, generally not your family members, okay, because they can be more critical. This is supposed to be a positive exercise, okay?
Right.
Not that you didn't, empty the dishwasher or something. So you send an email out with questions like, what is my presence? How do I show up? What traits do you love about me? Those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. When that comes back, I've done it twice in my career. When that comes back, I literally have teared up every time, because one, it will show you some positive blind spots that you have, or reinforce things that you think you are good at or are valued or worthy of. And now you have the vocabulary and a bit of confidence boost to help you know that you are valued and that you do bring value and you are worthy and you have a lot of worth to provide. And so it's just something like that is really easy, but most women need to better articulate worth and value.
And that applies not just to employees of Fortune 10 companies or employees within Fortune,
even entrepreneurs,
services or anything. Right.
Yeah. Entrepreneurs, when you're going to make a sales pitch, they might look at you and say, oh, you're just a small entrepreneur company. No, but if you know your worth and value, you're going to be more confident to give your sales pitch. So it doesn't matter where you work, what you do, whether you're in the field or in the ivory tower, doesn't matter. I
completely agree. And I think it's really important. We appreciate when our clients come to us and ask for support or ideas in DEI initiatives, and we can provide various guidance or ideas for them. So yeah, I'm glad we were able to have this conversation today, because it's a topic that I'm passionate about. I don't know if I could say equally passionate about, but passionate about, just like you. So I hope that there's some listeners who are able to take away that that the world is theirs for the taking from this. So
yeah, and I think to add to that, I can change out the word female and just say people in general need to understand their worth and value, right? And be able to articulate it. And we should, as other employees or people in these companies, value the perspective of others and see what they bring to the table. So it's not just about females. So because I know your audience is broader than that, just think about it from your own personal perspective. You could be an introvert and have a hard time articulating your worth and value.
Right.
So
right.
Be able to champion for yourself, advocate for yourself. That's what's really important.
As the book behind you on the shelf,
yes,
in big bold letters says, worthy.
Yes, so that's a great book to read. So Jamie Kern-Lima, her thought process is, you are worthy the day you were born. Worthy mean you're not just knowing your worth, it's you're worthy. There's two different things there, right? But that's the first part, is knowing you're worthy. And it's a great read. I highly suggest you listen to the Audible. I like hearing the author actually narrate their books. It gives us a little bit more to the literature that you're going through as well. But yeah, that's a good one.
Good. Probably will add it to my list, and it might answer one of my couple upcoming questions as we close out really quickly here. So just changing gears as we wind down, a segment that we like to do called underhyped or overhyped. So I want your opinion on this. The gender gap in general, is it still underhyped or is it overhyped in the sense that, women are actually making progress towards those goals that you're trying to help them achieve, or underhyped in that we have a lot more work to do?
Underhyped. Personal opinion. Done some research on it as well. I think it's still, like you mentioned earlier, we're still saying, female CEO,
right?
That kind of thing. So that's still happening. And there's still a lot of empty seats at the table at the top, right? Or the middle, or in the field, wherever you are, right? There's still some empty seats. And I think we need to get past that. We have to have a certain number of women. I don't like quotas. I don't like that. We should just be doing the right thing with the right talent, with the right thought process of the brain.
Person.
Yes, exactly. Forget about all of that other stuff. So I think we still have, and I know that COVID set us back, females, right? A lot of women had, for various reasons, stepped back into those old school roles. No judgment. Things happened.
Okay.
And so we lost a lot of momentum. I think that we have still a long way to go. I wish, I'm an impatient person, so I wish we could speed it up somehow, but there's no silver bullet. And you're dealing with so many different thought processes and ethics and values and stuff, but I think it's underhyped. We still have a ways to go, and how women need to not only advocate for themselves, but if we had more male allies championing the efforts too, and removing from their vocabulary, oh, we need a female on this. No, we need Julie on this, right? It's not that my selection
Julie's
team,
the best person.
yeah,
to do
my
the job.
selection team's missing a female. No, man, we need that thought process that Julie brings to the table, not that she's a female. So, still underhyped in my opinion.
Totally fair. I probably agree with you as well. In addition to Worthy, what's a book that you're reading these days?
Well, so right now I'm reading. When I say reading, I audible a lot. I have to have the book in my hand physically so I can take notes, but I listen because I need to hear to comprehend. I need to hear and hold. So just that kind of learner. I just started the Mel Robbins book, Let Them Theory, which her theory is if you've done something to wrong me, let them. That's your sorry, I have a potty mouth. I almost dropped some bombs there. Let you do that. That's not my issue. But not only let them, but let me not let that get to me. Let me do this. So she's got a 2-part philosophy there, and it's phenomenal. I just started it. I'm on chapter 3, and I'm like all in. And she actually had, I think she had either a TED Talk or a YouTube thing on it. She has a podcast that I listen to religiously as well. And it went viral where people are actually doing tattoos on their body that says, let them. And that sparked her to write the book, because it was obviously becoming very, inspirational to a lot of people. So that's the book I'm reading right now. But I thought about this because I get asked what books made an impact on me. And if you look behind me, you'll see a lot of them.
Perfectly color.
Well, yeah, I'm a little OCD that way too. They gotta look perfect. But one that I thought of recently that might resonate with your audience is a very short book. It's called Wolfpack, and it's by Abby Wambach. If you follow soccer or
the
football,
soccer player, Olympic soccer player.
Love her. I'm like, she doesn't know it, but I love her, and she's so inspirational.
Maybe she's listening.
Well, hopefully she is. And she has a podcast too with her spouse and her spouse's sister called We Do Hard Things, which is really good. But Abby did a commencement speech and she wrote it into a book. And really, you can read it in like an hour, maybe 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And Wolfpack, she talked about leading from the bench. And if you followed her career at the end, she got benched. Abby had the most goals worldwide of male and female soccer players. She got benched. I'm like, what? But she quickly had to realize how to lead differently because she was the captain of the team, but lead from the bench. So she's got like 10 tips on how to be a good leader when it comes to teamwork, collaboration, and leadership from a different viewpoint. And it was amazing. You can listen to the commencement speech or read the book. And she even made it into a book to read to young teens as well. Really good nuggets in there about.
I might borrow that one.
Oh, it's a good one. So that one's a really good book too.
I'm going to actually write that down after this because
Wolfpack.
I'm probably going to take that one.
I love it.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And you've kind of answered it because you're listening to audiobooks, but and you mentioned the previous author's podcast. In addition to that one, and of course, in addition to Searching Smarter, is there another podcast that you're listening to these days?
So the only one that I really listen to religiously that I need to make me laugh. I need laughter in my life daily, and I love sarcasm. And I guess I am learning something from it because it's called Smartless, and it is Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnott, all actors. They are best friends. Their commentary is seamless, funny. I literally, I'm crying laughing every time I listen to them. And they generally only interview celebrities, but they also are doing other folks, government folks. Like they just did one from a government individual that does about like UFOs and things like that. It was fascinating. Okay. But the whole time you're laughing and learning at the same time. So I've really encouraged people to listen to stuff that just can get them out of the constant learning mode too, and just have some fun and lightheartedness. And they actually got me through a difficult time I went through in early 2024, late 2023, because I would just listen to them every time they came out and I would deep belly laugh. So you need that in your life as well. So I would suggest that one.
Great. Love it. Last thing then for today.
Okay. All right. Hit me.
For those who will end up watching this podcast, you have a pretty good setup there with the microphone and the background and what looks to be some form of a studio. Is that a coincidence? Is that by design? Tell us more.
Yes, thank you for the question. A little bit of both. So my new endeavor, in addition to the company that I've launched last year, is to co-host a podcast with one of my former Chevron friends, HR professionals. And it's called Savvy Sisters and Cocktail Conversations, because we drink during the podcast and we promote the drinks that we're drinking. She's more of a champagne wine drinker. I will do that, but I love my vodka as well. So we talk about that. But really, the concept is career women empowerment and helping them through everything we've already talked about just now, why we're shooting the breeze, shenanigans, maybe dropping a few F-bombs, and just getting real and authentic and helping women really have a conversation and learn some things in a way that's not overwhelming, right? Mm-hmm. We don't want to overwhelm someone with a bunch of theory or action items to do. So it launches next Tuesday. Don't know when this is coming out, but maybe it will come out after. But January 14th, it gets launched. We are on Apple and Spotify, so please take a listen. Yes, so thank you for the plug. Appreciate it.
Of course, absolutely. Well, great chat today. I'm pleased that we were able to give the podcast a little bit of some exposure.
Love it.
The new endeavor, some exposure, but most importantly, a platform and some notes and a little bit of snippets on women empowerment and speaking up and creating advocacy for new generations of female leaders, regardless of their industry.
And I'd add to that, just help everybody, right? Lift up other people.
Yes.
Be curious. I call it popcorn curiosity, because if you just get out your popcorn and are more curious about people rather than judgmental, your mind is going to be blown. You're going to learn something. Everybody you meet knows something you don't know. Learn, listen, just be kind to people. It's that simple.
Sure is. Mm-hmm. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them in that order. I love that saying too.
Yeah. And thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's been great talking to you.
You as well.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
That's all for today's episode of Searching Smarter. If you found this conversation valuable, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Until next time, keep searching smarter.